Welcome back, family. Welcome to the Reiki Healing Hope Community, a place to heal, relax, be yourself, and be surrounded by those who want to see you blossom in or bloom. I am Jessica, sup, a Reiki master and intuitive, and today we have a special healing session, and I'm going to talk about my spiritual journey. So that was one of the requests, to talk about how to start a spiritual journey, and I'll just start with my own. And to make this nice and relaxing, I'm just going to go in with some different hand movements just so you can enjoy visually what's going on. So if you're new, subscribe, let your girl know she's loved. This is ASMR August, so you can definitely put your request, your ASMR request in. I threw in some soft spoken because I know that even though I enjoy whispers, sometimes people are like, I can't stand a whisper. I haven't heard that lately, so I'm not going to put that on you. But it's also lovely to feel just that soft spoken natural voice, so we're gonna throw that in there too. So y'all, let's go ahead and get started. So I talked about this briefly in the previous video about how I look at my healing journey, but specifically my spiritual journey. So for all those Reiki level 1 first degree Reiki practitioners who are learning right now with me, I talk about this as well, the separation in the Reiki lineage, where we are doing energy work as well as an added of the spiritual work. So the spiritual work is not religious. That's not it at all. You don't have to change how you feel about your religious views. That's yours. That's your own, thing. The spiritual work is more about your connection to divine energy source. It is that relationship you have. I'm going to use the term God, but whatever you feel comfortable calling this lovely energy. But it's the relationship you have with this wonderful energy when you are away from community. So religion is more about community. It's about coming together. It's about having this shared space. But the most important part is there's usually a set of rules and dogma and lineage. And so you follow it because that is a part of the religion. And it typically has like a history, or it pulls from another historical lineage. And so what kind of happens is that people who become more spiritual, I think they kind of get fed up with religion. I think they love the wisdom teachers. They love the Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. They love all of these stories, as well as more, not just in this Abrahamic lineage that I gave an example of, but they love these stories, but they just don't like homophobia, transphobia, racism, like prejudice. I mean, just even looking at, when we look at the history of colonization or the history of conquering, how many times have different societies been conquered over the idea of a faith? Obviously, they're being conquered over resources. But, everyone says we do it in the name of God or something like that. And so there's all of this tough kind of baggage that turns people off when it comes to religion. So they start to want to look at a spiritual path. Now, I want to use the word hack, but it's not a hack. My grandma taught me something when I was much younger, and it's about religion. So I think that, as I talked about in a previous video, I would be in churches, I would be in temples, I would be in mosques, and I could just feel the energy of the people. Like I could feel how pure and lovely, and I want to use the word delicious, but I don't think that's appropriate. It sounds strange there, but it just feels good. It felt good to be around others in reverence of their faith. And that also threw me off because I was like, I don't know which one is right and which one is wrong, because everything feels right, But what I was getting was, well, there's a right and there's a wrong. And that I didn't like. And what I realized from the advice that my grandma gave me, as well as an advice that one of my religious studies professors gave me, was, I'm going to give you his advice first, which was, don't worry about there being a right or a wrong answer. Just worry about being the best you can be. If you were born something and you want to stay something, then do that. If you want to explore and you want to do other stuff, then do that. But don't get caught up in something needing to be right or wrong. Just be the best, whatever it is that you want to be. So that was his great advice that he gave. And my grandma gave some beautiful advice too. I was raised with my mom as Jehovah's Witness, and Jehovah's Witnesses, it's like this culty aspect of Christianity. It's not actually the most cultiest of things, but it's very limiting. What it is it's called Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, some others too. They're a sect. A sect is just a category. They're a sect of Christianity that started to pop up maybe a little bit over 100 years ago. And the sect is called the Bible Study Sect. And the reason why this sect of Christianity came up is because when you look at Catholicism, in Catholicism, this is a very general view, there is I'm going to use the word conduit, but I don't think it's the most appropriate word, but I'm just saying that there is something in between the universal wisdom and knowledge in you. And that would usually be, like the priests, the papacy, like all of that kind of stuff to help you interpret this divine lineage, okay? And people who wanted to start to read the Bible and interpret it in modern day terms started to branch off into this Bible. A reason why this Bible sect community came up, and it came up in a lot of different ways. There's various sects, but really what it's just doing is it's saying we want to go in and we want to interpret the Bible in modern day terms. And the funny thing about that is that, like, those same groups of people, like, you'll ask them, how do you feel about LGBTQIA community? How do you feel about some of these other things? And then they'll be like, oh no, it's wrong. You got to look at the Bible, look at the past. But I'm like, weren't you the same people who said that you wanted to interpret it and you didn't want somebody to interpret for you? I don't know. I digress. I get people do whatever they want to do. So to wrap that whole story up, because I was raised like that, when I was younger, when I say I was easily bored, like, because my grandmother, who was Baptist, and I'm going to get to the advice she gave me, because she was just such an ownership of her spirituality, she understood the difference between religion and spirituality. Even if she didn't necessarily say it, she really put in me all of this autonomy and freedom and wisdom to have a relationship with God that wasn't dependent on someone telling me how to do it. And because of that, I would be so bored. Like, I don't know if you all have ever read A Watchtower before, but literally it's like you read a paragraph and the answer is always in the first line of the paragraph. Then you raise your hand and you answer. It's like you can't get it wrong. So all this kind of like mentally stimulating things that I was looking for, I wasn't getting it from there, and I wasn't upset about it. But I saw people. I saw, my own mother struggle with really feeling like being a Jehovah's Witness was the only thing that's right. I've seen people all the time just struggling to feel like this one particular faith is right, but yet they still have concerns, so they just don't know how to navigate it. So I say all of that to say the excellent advice that my grandmother gave me. So what my grandmother said to me is, at that point, I was tired of being forced. I didn't want to go to the Kingdom Hall. I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to do anything. This is probably from the age of like 8 to 15. I was just like, I don't feel like it. And the reason why I didn't want to go is because when I would go to church, I would enjoy it, and I felt so much guilt. And I didn't understand, like, why do I feel all of this guilt if I see all of these beautiful people and they just, they're, especially when it came to like praise. Oh my gosh, I was like, yeah, this is the bee's knees. So I've been long-winded to say that when looking at your spiritual path, having, for my example, having all of these people and just watching people kind of struggle with faith, or people just being so balanced in faith, kind of like when I was talking about my grandma, it gave me this sense of freedom, this sense of balance that I've carried throughout my entire life. And so some who come to the channel are looking for, the energy healing aspect. Some are looking for the spiritual aspect of balance, emotional support, something to aid in their mental health practice and all of these things. That spiritual support is less religious, doesn't have to be religious. That's on you. That's you to decide what religious lineage you want to follow. It is 100% spiritual, and I can only give you the gift that was given to me, that you have permission to explore, you have permission to be at one with yourself, and you have a permission to have a relationship with the universe, source, whatever you want to call whatever your lineage is, whatever your understanding is of this beautiful energy between you and I and all of these things. You have permission to discover and rediscover that in any way that you want to. And I think that people are so used to telling people what to do with their bodies or telling them what to do with their mind, that being able to have that, a space to honestly confront how you feel, matters. If you feel uncomfortable in a faith that is discriminatory against other people, that is completely rational. And you get to have that opportunity to understand what it is that you want to take from the lineage and what you don't want to take. I think a lot of times people force themselves to be okay with things when they're not, and it just tears them apart, or they then become the people that, suppress them. So just explore. I think the easiest way to start is whatever you started out with, whatever you were raised as. If you're not completely turned off to it, just explore it. Explore even more teachings than whatever sect of whatever, you were born into. Explore outside of that. I think one of the most beautiful things I ever had an opportunity to do is I majored in religious studies in undergrad, and I had no intention of doing that, but I literally fell in love with being in all of these different classes of these different faiths and different sects of these faiths, and not being proselytized to, or not being told like convert to this, and it was just so revolutionary. It was so healing. It was so elevating for me and what I needed. And it anchored inside of me an ability to be critical in what I'm learning, as well as to be open and understanding and see others as they enjoy their lineage. So if you're looking of how to reinforce your spiritual practice, just explore, just enjoy, and surround yourself by like-minded people. Don't surround yourself by people who are not going to help in the journey, because if you already feel like, oh, I don't know where I'm at, that's going to kind of encourage you to live from a fear base rather than a faith base. Believe me, I still get afraid and nervous of things in my life. Oh, am I good enough to do this? Oh, can I do that? That's normal. That's every day. But one thing I'm very certain of, and there are very few things that I've been lucky to be blessed with being able to do well. And one of those things is my spiritual path, my faith in God, universe, source, and my ability to navigate my spiritual journey and be in reverence and respect of others in their religious journey. So just get out there and try. My Reiki ones know that they can just get out there and try. And having that strong connection to whatever path or lineage you believe is really what roots you down when you start to do intuitive training, or you start to do a balance and trying to get clarity in your life. So again, there's no wrong answer. All it is just giving you an opportunity to walk forth into this experience and enjoy it. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to enjoy Reiki Healing Hope. You know, it's named Reiki. I am a Reiki practitioner. It is just so much more. And I encourage you to bring your lineage, your understanding, and explore, relax. We're not judgmental here. But family, I hope you enjoyed this session. And if no one has said it to you, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Number one, put your ASMR August request in the comments. And number two, don't touch your face. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds and be sweet to yourself. Love you, love you, love you. Cannot wait until the next time. Seal it with a kiss.